Hello, good morning. It's Sunday morning. We're here to casually talk about comic books, choosing violence. I don't know, it's not too violent of a week.
I didn't think it was too violent. There's like one or two books that I feel like I could get violent about, but overall, I don't want to say it was mediocre because that's not the right word. I would say it was very, very chill. We'll call it chill.
Yeah. I think that all the violence was taken up by John this week. John's Comics with Kids had a very violent
John had a
reaction.
very violent week.
So maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll put that as part of our news section. Good morning. We are here to talk about comic books. I know that I had a thick stack of books this week. So it was fun. It was a good week.
It was a surprisingly heavy week. Like I thought, okay, there's just like She-Hulk and Nightwing. And then I started looking at my stack and I'm like, no, there's a lot more books here than I think any of us are ready for.
Yeah. I was ready for it. I read all of them on Wednesday, which I'm proud of. Like that's got to be my secret to reading my books for the week, is I have to read them on Wednesdays. So, excellent.
Proud of you.
Thank you. I deserve an award, right? Just kidding. Well, I want to go ahead and say hello to some people in the chat. First of all, I want to say thank you to TM Nerdy, who is a member of the channel. That's why they have a nifty little icon by their name. So thank you, Mr. Travis. I really appreciate you. John's Comics with Kids, who I'm referring to, who had a very violent reaction to a book that he read this week.
Stuff.
Yeah. Went on a rant and I loved it. I was totally here for it. So thank you for that. And good morning to Bobby Delegato. And then John, Big Daddy Ross. Hello, thank you for being here. John Stout. That's 3 Johns in a row.
That's 3 Johns in a row.
How many Johns can we fit in here? Invite your other John friends and let's see what we can do.
3 Johns in a trench coat.
3 Johns in a trench coat. And y'all are talking about like football or baseball or something.
What is football? What is a ball?
Yeah. Are y'all lost? No, I'm just kidding. Hello to Super Stick Boy. I see that you are giving us some fantastic information here. Happy Saga Week. We're going to talk about this. If you read 18 chapters a day before Wednesday, you will be caught up before issue 55 releases this Wednesday. Dedication. Scott Hazelwood, another one of our channel members. That's why there's a little icon right there. Icon. She-Hulk simps in the house. Ooh.
Hell yeah, it's She-Hulk simp week, y'all. It's She-Hulk really simp week. There's some other things we're going to be simping over, so stay tuned.
Hello, JG. JG, is it John? Are you another John? We've got a James. Good afternoon, Jen and Mars. And then that comic girl. Hello. Let's see here. Kaiser Jose. Thank you for being here. Good morning, fam. Let's see here. Manic23. Hello. Jen and Mars. Hey, comic folk. Luna, did that show up? I'm really curious.
I think you're supposed to do it with just the dots and then Luna after it. You're halfway there.
Got it. Okay. My middle name is John. That counts. That 100%
you're part of the trench coat. It's simple as that.
And then hello to Creating Comics While Black. Cheers.
There it is. I see Luna. On the chat.
Is Luna on the chat?
I see Luna.
This is fantastic, y'all. Thank you.
Worked.
I feel like I missed out on somebody. I apologize. I'm going to go back up and see if I can find them. Yep. Okay. I think I missed out on Niall. So hello, Niall. Thank you for being here too. Alrighty. Let's get started. The news segment of the show.
Wasn't a lot of news. I feel like we kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel because last week it felt like everybody wanted to be problematic and announce stuff. And then this week everybody was just like, well, Jen and Mars had a lot to say. And we don't want to have anybody say anything else. So we're not going to say anything. So very, very quiet news week. However, we finally got a estimated runtime for Matt Reeves' The Batman. And it's a long boy, y'all. It's a long boy.
It's 3 hours. I mean, supposedly, by the time that we see it, it may end up being, they may cut it down a little bit and they may do I don't know. I really hope they don't call Joss Whedon in.
I'm gonna be honest. Is it bad to say I'm not excited? I am so exhausted of Batman. I've seen Batman rebooted 3 times in my lifetime, and it's too much, y'all. Like, am I gonna see it? Obviously. Am I gonna complain about it the whole time? Probably.
I'm gonna pick this movie apart, and I swear to God, if I see the fucking Pearl scene, I will choose violence and I will burn Gotham to the ground. That will
hear
be
me out. Hashtag hear me out. Let Catwoman and Batman fuck. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. If they don't get to boink in that movie with all the sexual tension that we've gotten from that trailer, there's no point. There's literally no point.
Let Batman do what heroes aren't allowed to do, and just...
If there can be fucking in the Eternals movie...
Oh my God, that was the... I
rewatched it. If there can be an awkward sex scene in the Eternals movie, I think there can be a sensual sex scene in the 3-hour Batman movie.
Maybe it's just all 3. Maybe DC finally heard my cries for Batman year 69, and they're going to be doing an R-rated Batman film, and mostly just because of like sexual activities. Maybe. Did you watch Eternals again this week, or did you?
I've seen Eternals once, and I've just had no desire to see it ever again. I like the characters, but overall, I think the movie's a mess. The plot really doesn't make any sense.
No, and
at one point, one of the characters just leave for no reason and comes back with no consequences, and I'm like, is this allowed? Also, somebody pointed out there is an insane amount of DC comic references in the Eternals. And again, it's a matter of, is this allowed? Can you do this?
Can you do this? Yeah, for sure. And I'm still going to watch Batman. Do I need a 3-hour Batman movie? No, I need a bathroom break. Like, that's what I need. Can we get intermissions back in movies?
Oh my goodness, please.
Because your girl needs a bath.
It's pretty bad.
A
bathroom break. It's pretty bad. Let me just say, it's really bad when a Batman movie is going to either come close or be longer than a Lord of the Rings movie. It just does not feel right to me. That's happening.
And I get it, we're rebooting. We need to probably set up a whole, like you said, like we're getting a new Batman. We probably need to introduce a lot of new themes. I don't know if we need to be reintroduced to the world. And I know we're going to get that stupid origin scene, and we're going to see some pearls ripping and falling in a dark alleyway, and Mask of Zorro is, will be advertised to be playing. And I don't know, man.
It's too much.
This is a very big
that is my supervillain origin story, is the fact that Snyder fanboys complained so much that this movie got canceled because they directly affected New Gods being canceled because of some logistical bullshit where, because anorexic Darkseid shows up in the Snyder cut, we can't have Darkseid in a New Gods movie, so it got canceled. So therefore, I will never get to see live action Big Barda or Granny Goodness.
I mean, we got to see her for like a snippet in the back. We got to see Granny Goodness,
and she was a skinny fucking lady. What the hell is this? That's not Granny Goodness.
Woman.
That's not.
I need old, gnarly Granny Goodness.
Give me fucking Kathy Bates' Granny Goodness, or I riot.
Maybe we can get maybe we need to do like a hashtag, a campaign, and get Granny Goodness. And I want a whole Granny Goodness series. Like how they're doing Peacemaker, I want to see a Granny Goodness series.
If these Snyder fanboys can do their hashtag restart the Snyderverse and get what they want, because apparently we're allowed to negotiate with terrorists now, I want hashtag restore the New Gods.
Yeah, I agree. Restore the Snyderverse or whatever it is. Well, I don't know. I'm very disappointed in the DC universe, but that's just...
I'm disappointed with the DC universe every day. This is no news to me. It's just constant disappointment.
Speaking of constant disappointment, maybe not constant, maybe surprising. So Valiant Comic Books has decided that they, not that I give too much money to Valiant anyways, like if I do buy it, it's like I'm buying one issue of something a month. Maybe I'm buying a trade paperback if it's on sale years after. But Valiant Comic Books has decided to enter the ring of NFTs.
Listen, I am so tired of hearing about NFTs. It feels like every day somebody else needs to enter or put on their stupid hat and be like, I'm gonna do NFTs, and it's just like I keep hope maybe I don't feel, but maybe I keep hoping that the NFT game is a trend that will fucking slowly die out. But it's like if it hasn't died out yet, is it going to at this point? Like, are we kind of just stuck in this NFT game? And I'm just tired.
As someone who grew up with like the internet, like, you know, I have seen empires rise and fall, right? Like I saw MySpace rise and fall. I was a deviant art kid and they introduced a monetizing system. I saw it rise and fall. I saw the rise and fall of Neopets. I saw the rise and somewhat fall of World of Warcraft and digital currencies. I've seen the rise and fall of Gaia Online.
Oh man.
Just incredible digital marketplaces that just I like I said, I've seen entire empires fall, rise, and crumble. NFTs are probably going to do the same thing. Like, enjoy your digital spicy beanie babies, folks.
Digital spicy beanie babies. It's just, again, it's not a matter of like we read a lot of Valiant anyway or anything like that, but it is just a matter of, you know, I can't help but feel like Valiant, and I hate saying this because I don't like discrediting anybody for their work, but I feel like Valiant is such an insignificant comic book publisher sometimes. Like, let's be honest, like what the hell do they have besides like Bloodsport or Bloodshot or whatever the hell it's called? You know, Valiant really doesn't do anything. They had that period of time where they were putting out some like really interesting stuff. You had like Forgotten Queen, you had Livewire with Vita Ayala, there was another like Dr. Mirage with Mags Visaggio. But like after that, it's like they went back to just their boring 90s shenanigans, but doing it in 2020. And it feels like they just need a little bit of publicity, of media, so they're like, we're gonna join the NFT game. Yeah, but nobody cares about who actually, like, who physically, like, again, I hate saying this, but like, who actually cares about Valiant?
There's a dedicated group of people, I think, and I definitely applaud them for being, and I get it because it's maybe more indie than Image. I feel like it's if Image from the 90s had just continued being Image in the 90s and didn't have this like early 2000s revolution that Image did. But I think this is their like one last grab at being relevant.
Yeah. And again, I hate saying that because I don't want to discredit anybody who's ever had work published for Valiant or any of the editors or anything like that, because there's some great people working for Valiant and who have worked at Valiant. But it feels very stuck in the 90s G.I. Joe sort of stuff. That's all I can really say about Valiant.
Yeah. Not too many titles that I'd be like, I need everyone to read this one title by Valiant, but so we'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll end up making some money and it'll keep them afloat for another couple years.
Maybe. We'll see.
I know that you're really angry about this, but I mean, because I got a text from you, it was like 6 o'clock my time, and it was. So tell me about the text I got.
I don't know if I'm angry so much as like I'm Charlie Day with like the fucking board with like trying to figure out all the puzzle pieces right now.
Who is oh my goodness, I
don't know. I've never watched
Yeah.
It's Always Funny
It's Always Sunny
in Philadelphia.
I've seen like
one episode of it, and then I was like, okay, this was like, it's not something I'd go out of my, maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. But I like all the references. Yeah. I love all the references. It's fine. So God, when was this solicited? This was solicited months ago.
I honestly thought it already came out.
Titan announced that they were making a Cowboy Bebop comic, and they were going huge with their marketing. It was gracing the front covers of Previews World. It was being pushed to no end. There were 8 different covers, with its main cover being done by Stanley Lau Art Germ. You know, it was huge. It was marketed to be huge, and people were speculating it was going to be the next big thing, because Cowboy Bebop really hasn't had any sort of comic influence. And with the new Netflix show, you know, they were trying to bank on that. However, I've noticed within the past couple of weeks, this comic has been delayed and pushed back time and time again. It was supposed to come out in early December. We're now looking at January. It was slated to come out this week. It never came out this week. It's now on the solicitations and releases supposedly for next week. And at this point, I'm convinced that this book is never coming out. And I'm not invested in this, because as we all know, I was not a fan of the show.
That's why I got,
you know, but I was like really excited to just like read a Cowboy Bebop book, and I was going to like push it from my head and just, you know, have a good time and enjoy it. Maybe it would be different from the show, but it's like, it's just baffling to me. Like, I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm not happy either way. I think I'm just more like confused, where it's like, if this book is going to be canceled, which at this point I'm convinced it's going to be canceled just like its predecessor show, just announce it. Like, just say that this book is being canceled and it keeps being pushed back.
And you know that I'm not for like either digital only, or, you know, I of course prefer print comics, as you can see, but I almost want to say don't waste the paper.
Yeah.
Don't waste the paper on printing it. If there's logistical errors, if there is you know, shipping and all of this, just go ahead, don't print it. Maybe go ahead and do a digital only comic. I think what really happened is they heard your review trashing the Netflix show, and they're like,
hey, it wasn't just me, okay? The entire internet felt the same way, apparently.
Titan was like, we can't, if Mars trashes our comic book the way that she trashed the show, that will be the end of us.
We'll have to get publishing.
Titan's going to end up having to get into the NFT game too to stay relevant.
Oh, no. That was not my intention. Listen, at this point, like, I just want an answer. I just want like I want a resolution.
Yeah.
Conclusion to this Cowboy Bebop comic plot. Is it going to be published? Yes or no? Because listen, it's making my OCD go whack, because I put it on my list of, okay, this is what I'm reading this week. And then I find myself having to take it off because it never actually came out. And it's just, it's crazy. It's wacko.
It is. Especially, what was the other show that came out on, was it not Magic Order, but it was a Mark Millar book,
Jupiter's Legacy.
And Jupiter's Legacy barely got a season, and then
wasn't it canceled within the week that it came out?
It really was. And then I think that they were really banking big on Jupiter's Legacy, like them redoing it. Sorry folks, I've got a cat coming in. Luna has entered the chat. And so I think that they were once again banking on Jupiter's Legacy. Is it a Netflix thing? Because both those properties ended up on Netflix and then getting canceled. So maybe it's a Netflix thing. Netflix curse.
It very well could be. I just want an answer at this point. Again, I could care less if it comes out or not, but I need to know. I need to know so I can sleep at night. So
I want to know if, chat, hear me out. I really want to know, would you read a Cowboy Bebop comic, and would you have read it? Have you watched the show? Here's the thing. I liked the show. I thought it was interesting. Do I think that it was very, very similar to the show, to the movie? I do agree with that, but I thought that it was very interesting. I loved the visuals. I fucking love Jet Black. I love
I do, but I don't, because here's the thing. Why are you making your only black character, who wasn't initially black in the show, and that's fine. We can make him a black, a black character. That's absolutely fine. But why are you now making your only black character a deadbeat single father, when he wasn't that in the original show, but now all of a sudden, because he is a person of color, we're going to make him a deadbeat dad? There's something about that does not sit right with me.
I don't think that he's a deadbeat dad. I don't think he is. I think the world treats him like he is one, but I don't think that he is one.
It's too much. It's too much. I want a good Cowboy Bebop comic. I feel like that is
Maybe
a
this will be
universe.
it.
I feel like that's a universe that could thrive off of a comic, because at the end of the day, Cowboy Bebop, while it did have a structured story, it thrived off of almost seeming like an anthology series where each issue was an adventure that kind of explored a different character or whatnot. And I feel like we could see that happen in a month-to-month type series. So who knows?
If it comes out next week, I'm still going to buy the Cowboy Bebop comic. I promise you all that I will only buy one cover if it's available.
If it's available.
I will only buy one cover. I will not go crazy with the variant covers at all. I promise.
But in final news-ish shenanigans before we start actually talking about comics, which we all know is what you're here for.
Yeah.
We finally, after what feels like years of waiting, got a Moon Knight trailer.
Well, like a big one, because we got
a real trailer.
We got the first one that was like kind of a teaser, but then it was like, I saw it, and I think my biggest gripe with it was Oscar Isaac's accent in it. The voice.
However, I have a theory now. Okay. So, because we see in the Moon Knight trailer, he is continually weird Anglo-Saxon, almost mid-mouse accent, which we all know is not Oscar Isaac in any way. However, in the trailer, we keep seeing him be called Stephen Grant. And I'm like, okay, if this is the voice you're using for your Stephen Grant persona, but then when Mark Spector comes through, or when Jake Lockley comes through, we're going to change the accent. I'm totally okay with that. But I am ridiculously excited for this goddamn show. I need it like yesterday. It feels like kind of how Matt Fraction was Hawkeye was very heavily inspired by the Matt Fraction run. It feels like David Asia run. It feels like Moon Knight is being heavily inspired by the Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood run. Yeah. Which we all know is like one of my favorite Marvel comics of all time.
It's funny. Sorry. I've been seeing on the internet people being like, can you recommend what comic should I read in order for the Moon Knight? To be honest, I would say don't even worry about any other run other than the Jeff Lemire run for Moon Knight. Honestly, maybe if you're feeling spicy, go back and like read the original like first appearance, but
at the end of the day, read what you want to read. Read what is most interesting to you. There's really no right or wrong answer when getting into a character.
To me, there's a wrong answer, and it's Warren Ellis based on principle.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm saying, okay, outside of just Moon Knight, when we're looking at just characters that you want to get into, read what seems most interesting. Are there definitely runs and stories that I think are more accessible to a new reader? Absolutely. Yeah. However, I'm not going to tell you if that's right or wrong. But please read, because I found out this morning, literally right before we hopped on live, that they are reprinting the Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood collection, which obviously they're doing because it's going to be the most accessible one. Definitely pick that up. I think,
and it's going to be $30.
It's going to be like $30 for all 14 issues of the series. So there's no reason for you not to pick it up. It's the best representation of Moon Knight, at least I think. I think my only gripe with this Moon Knight trailer, other than the fact that I learned yesterday that this is only going to be a 6-issue or 6-episode series, which I'm like, why is it all my favorite characters only get like 5 or 6 episodes? I'm not a huge fan of the suit. I think the suit for Moon Knight is a little busy, and I personally would have liked to see the Declan Shavely. I can't. Words are bad. Words are weird.
Declan, come on here and tell us how to pronounce your name.
Tell us how to pronounce your name, and when you're at it, bring on Gary, Jerry, Dugan, Duggan. I personally really like the white and the black contrast suit. I personally like the Jeff Lemire, Greg Smallwood business suit, and I would love to see some sort of nod to that. But I think in terms of when Moon Knight is out and he's beating up thugs, I think that black and white with the cape contrast is really, really it's sharp looking. It's dynamic. And I feel like this pure white one might get a little lost.
I really just need him to come out and say, Dracula, where are you, you big nerd? Give me my money. I need Moon Knight saying that.
Give me your big fucking money.
Give me your money.
I personally want to see him because, I mean, I don't want to say obviously that panel is fake, but it is not real.
It's real to
However,
me,
there is a very real panel between Punisher and Moon Knight where they're making fun of each other for, you know, Punisher makes a comment of, you know, how you doing, buddy? Still a schizophrenic weirdo. And Moon Knight shoots back with, hey, buddy, is your family still dead? I would like to see an interaction like that. Like, just have John Bernthal show up and be like, hey there, asshole, what's going on?
What if they did that, like, at the end of the 6th episode?
Listen, like, if we're just bringing in the Netflix Marvel universe, like, subtly into, like, the Disney Plus shows, like, y'all bought Kingpin into Hawkeye, bring John Bernthal Punisher into Moon Knight, do it. I would lose my shit, do it. But they won't, so it's fine.
There's 2 other pieces of news that I forgot to write down that I do want to bring up. The first one is we are getting a Godzilla or like Monsters universe.
Monsterverse, yes.
And Matt Fraction is going to be a part of that. So I'm excited for that. And I think that there's a couple other creators. So I'm just really excited for, I think that'll be on Apple TV Plus. So I'm really excited for that. Second piece of news that I didn't mention to you earlier, so surprise, it's news to you. I don't know if y'all have seen, but apparently they are rebooting Strange Academy.
Yes.
And I believe it's going to be a different creative team, which, you know, I really like the Scotty Young. Oh, I can't off the top of my head.
You like the current creative team.
Yeah, I do. But I just think that, of course, this is a sales push. You know, it's on what, issue 17, 18 for Strange Academy. So, you know, maybe not as many invested readers. People are like, okay, I bought the first couple. I mean, that was me. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and trade weight after this.
It was a hot book. It was a it was one of those, nobody talked about it. And then it felt like overnight, this book became one of the hottest books of 2021. A lot of people, or 2020, whichever year that it came out, it felt like a lot of people were jumping on it and specking on it. It spiked to, you know, double digits. And now it feels like, yeah, it is kind of like a little cash grab almost.
Really quick, I want to address this comment by Jarrell. We haven't covered it by Twitter Chud saying DC is closing down this week because Chuds are going to Chud, right? Like, there's these same group of people that I'm sure you're talking about are the same people who are like, comics are failing. And the reason why they're failing is because you can just be so much more creative with manga, and manga doesn't have censorship and like whatever. People
neither do comics. That's why we have indie comics. That's why we have DC Black Label. Yeah, Marvel doesn't have an equivalent, but there's totally uncensorship, for lack of a better word, in I guess Western comics. I mean, we got to see Batman's penis. Like, how uncensored? I mean, granted, they censored it later, but
they censored
how uncensored
it.
Can you
really
get?
Dark, yeah. So I think that the Chuds are always just going to Chud, and they're going to be like, well, they're DC and Marvel aren't letting me write and or draw for them, so they must be closing down because no one at DC or Marvel fucking wants them there. So of course they're going to say, yeah, how much dumb bitch money I spend on DC comic books and at comic book shops in general will prove otherwise. The industry is not going away anytime soon.
No.
So, that's pretty much all the news that I have. So anyways,
now we have comics.
On to comics. Chat, like always, I would like you to tell us, do you want us to start with Marvel? Do you want us to start with DC? Do you want us to start with indie? While y'all are talking in the chat, I'm going to sort out my
books. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Ugh. Too many books. Too many books. Too many books. And the stack looks bigger than it is because there's a lot of variants for one particular character.
Was it She-Hulk?
It may or may not have been She-Hulk. I may or may not have been a dumb bitch and bought 4 goddamn copies.
I only bought 3.
I bought 4. It's fine.
Wow.
I'm not supposed to be saving money or anything like that. It's fine.
You know, what I always say is you got to spend money to make money. You got to save money to spend money.
Speaking of spending money to make money, I'm just going to show this off. This little baby boy that I found in the shop. This is my new husband, Wilson Fisk. He is a vaulted pop, and my shop had him just randomly chilling on the shelf for $10. And I was like, babe, because my partner is with me, and my partner knows I'm trying not to spend money because of our move and everything like that, and adult stuff. I'm like, babe, he's normally $55, and he's like, do what you gotta do. I'm like, I am. So
do what needs to be done.
I now have Wilson Fisk with the cufflinks and everything like that. So I'm I'm on the Wilson Fisk simp train. Okay, I was gonna wait to talk about that later in the show with another particular book, but I am on the Wilson Fisk simp train. It's fine. It's cool.
It's okay.
It's all right.
No judgment whatsoever.
I think we're actually saying DC for once. Usually we have people saying indie, but some people saying, I guess,
excellent.
Let's talk about some DC.
DC, since they are closing down tomorrow.
I have so good.
DC book. You're cutting out a little bit this week.
Oh no!
Right now. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be better. Apparently my internet provider is like switching stuff, so they are terrible, and I won't have to deal with them in a couple weeks, so it's fine.
Very nice. Corncob TV, call and tell your provider that
they suck.
This is my stack for DC. I had a very violent reaction to a book.
I think we should talk about that book first, because I feel kind of similar to that book.
Okay. So in similar fashion to maybe John, hating Witches by Scott Snyder, I picked up this book, and the only reason why I picked it up was because Chip Zdarsky. Okay. I hated this book. Batman, the Night Batman.
Bad. Can we talk about how this series, I feel like, thirst traps you? Because have you noticed that all the variants are like very sexy Bruce Wayne with his shirt off, like ready for a fight? Like every single variant for all the issues is Bruce Wayne with his shirt off. So I feel like they're trying to do Batman Year 18 Barely Legal, but just barely.
Yeah. That's kind of what it is.
That's basically what this book is. Like, let's be honest.
It's not rated R by any means. Like, you're going to have to, get my personal written fan fiction of Batman Year 18 Barely Legal. But my biggest problem with this book is that it's supposed to be this, like, Batman origin story. And to me, it hasn't gotten there. But one of the things that this is me just picking it apart, because in the same way that Stillwater, written by Chip Zdarsky, did the same thing to me, like, Batman is going to therapy. And it's like, you know what? Good for you, Bruce Wayne. You're a child. You saw your parents murdered. Let's go to therapy. But then Batman's like, I'm too good for therapy, and just walks out and wants to
toxic masculinity at its finest, y'all.
And I just, I get that, like, that can maybe be a way that the character, we see a character arc and we see character development, but it's literally Batman saying, like, I'm going to solve problems by punching people. And for a character that's like, I'm going to solve problems, maybe trying to use less violence, maybe like, less guns or whatever. I don't know, like, being a smart individual and being a detective, I'm going to solve these things. And in this book, he's like, he's
just a violent little asshole in this book.
Yeah.
Like, this book, like, they claim it's like an origin story, and they're like, it's the origin you've never seen, because it's literally like his angsty teenage years when the seeds of him becoming the Batman are starting to go into place. And if I'm being honest, it honestly just feels like the most boring parts of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like the most boring parts of that movie, where I didn't care, and he's still not even going to training. And not only that, I mean, we knew that Batman was pro-cop. I mean, he works with with cops and all this bullshit. But when he literally is out, when he's literally out with like his little girlfriend, and he's like, I think I want to become a cop. I literally screamed. I'm like, of course Batman would want to be a cop. Like, that's so fucking on brand. And the fact that y'all just confirmed this shit is ridiculous. It's so funny to me.
To be fair, she was like, you don't want to be a cop. Like, she was basically like, ew. No.
She was me. She was me. Where it's like, are you sure about that?
But reading that, it's basically like Batman was like, I want to be a cop, and then tries to go through training, but then couldn't even pass the training. And is like, I'm just going to use my money.
Basically, I hated everything. And it's not necessarily that I hated like the writing or anything like that, because I don't think the writing itself is bad. I think it's the story. I think it's the story. Like this, we don't need to go further into Batman. We all know about this. You're not really bringing anything new to the table, and it's just unnecessary. But I will say, if we have to give like a very positive thing for this book, the artwork in this book is really fucking gorgeous. I really like the art in this book, and I would like to see more Bat titles take on this more colorful, I don't want to say indie vibe to it, but I feel like every Batman book we've seen for a while, I mean, maybe not so much, because I feel like George Jimenez and the work that he did with James Tiny Onion was really dynamic and really unique, but it feels like Bat books always get slogged down in the same dark and gritty style that almost doesn't have a style, you know, because it's the same thing over and over. But
it definitely reminded me of like one of maybe the DC Ink books almost. Like it had a very, I don't want to say young adult vibe to it, but like even the colors I felt were very bright for a Batman book.
For a Batman book, I agree.
Yeah. But this is why we can't have nice things.
Didn't like it, don't need it, don't want it. Please take it back.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I hope someone liked it. I hope this was the book for someone. It just 100% was not the book for me.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
In other books, I guess, that were disappointing, because I guess we're just gonna keep going with that trend. Robin's number 3 came out this week, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm over this book. I'm completely over it. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It felt like it was a slog to go through. And if I'm being honest, like that whole fun dynamic we got with the Bat family from issue 1, it's completely gone, and it's reverted into a very serious Bat book that is not fun. And if I'm being quite honest, this book is basically already happening, and it's happening in a better way. And that's with Wayne Family Adventures on Webtoons. So if you want your fill of fun Bat family goodness, just read Wayne Family Adventures on Webtoons. I will say, I do like that they gave Nightwing long hair in this. I appreciate that. But other than that, not having fun with this book. Would drop
that?
Robin's number 3.
Okay. Is it like 3 of 6, or
I think there's 5 or 6 issues. I don't know. I don't like it. I really want to drop it. I might drop it, but next month we get the Stephanie Brown cover by Jen Bartel, so I might just like suck it up and like
just buy that one.
I might just buy that one and then drop it. It's just like this is the book that won the DC round robin. Really? This is what we get? Robin. It's so unfun, and I would say unoriginal, but it's not fun. I'm not having a good time.
Well, another Robin book that came out this week, it was the 3rd in the series, and it was Robin and Batman. I know you weren't particularly in love with the first issue when you read it. I still really liked it. I really appreciated the story by Jeff Lemire, and the artwork by Dustin Nguyen is like incredible. This book definitely got pretty emotional. Basically, Batman is telling Robin, like, hey, you are my sidekick, but you can't be. Like, I need you to be a kid for a little bit. And then, of course, like, kind of spoiler alert, you know, he goes in and tries to save Batman. But there's this really cute moment at the end. I hope I'm not spoiling anything, so
spoil it. Spoil away. It's a Batman story. They're all the same.
Okay. It's really not that. Sorry. So like a classmate comes up to Robin and is just comes up and says like, "Hey, have you ever played D&D?" And Robin's like, "I don't have time to play D&D." And so then the whole situation happens with like Batman in trouble. Robin tries to rescue him, and then at the end you get to see Robin playing D&D. I thought that was really cute. So by this was just a 3-issue limited series. This is issue 3, so we're probably going to get to see a collected volume of this. It is not Black Label, but I would really appreciate like an oversized big boy. But it'll probably, I don't know, it'll probably be like a $16.99, $19.99 trade. I think that'll be worth it.
Did you read Superman, Son of Kal-El #7?
Superman, Son of Kal-El #7 is somewhere in this stack. Yeah, I did.
I did not really enjoy this issue. I feel like this is like the first time during the 7 issues and the annual that we've gotten for this that I was kind of like bored by it. Okay. And was like really second guessing, do I want this on my pull list? I just feel like it wasn't fun. It wasn't that, you know, maybe it's going to sound silly. Maybe it's because there was a lack of politics in the book. And I feel like the past 7 issues plus annual we've gotten have been very political and very, you know, I really like that about the book. And we get some really great character moments. And I feel like this one kind of reverted to, there's a big monster and we're going to punch it, but we're going to not punch it. And it was boring.
I felt like this one was really good character development in this book with Superman, because I'm not going to like spoil it, but there was like you said, a big monster that comes up, and then Superman is like, no, we need to figure out like what is the monster's motivations. Like we can't just go and kill the monster. And then they choose not to kill the monster, but then the monster ends up killing someone or hurting someone anyways. And so I feel like this is that character development of like, you know, Superman's got to make a choice. It can kill someone in order to save someone. What is that? The train conundrum, where it's like, do you avert a train's path if we know that a train is going to kill 10 people? Do we let it just stay on its track and let it, like, or do we divert the train and have it kill only one person?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what this is asking. I'm sure someone smarter in the chat knows.
It very well could be. I feel like compared to what we've seen previously of this title, the fact that, you know, I mean, I put this on my best of 2021 list. You know, it's a book that made me actually care about the super family and the super character.
Yeah.
I just feel like this felt very different maybe from what we've seen.
I agree.
So I'm hoping that with issue 8, we can kind of see the return of that. I don't think that the guest appearance in it really benefited at all, because we do get a guest appearance from Aqua Lad. I don't know. I wanted more. I wanted more from Mr. Taylor.
Speaking of Mr. Tom Taylor, Nightwing, this was the first book that I read this week.
I love this costume. That's all. I'm just going to say that. I love this. I love the little finger gloves.
100%. I don't know about you, but this was probably not my favorite book this week. We'll get into that probably later, obviously. But this is probably my favorite issue within Nightwing.
Really?
Number 88. I loved this issue.
I felt the opposite.
Wow, you were like, Tom Taylor's disappointing this week.
A little bit. And maybe it was because I wasn't having a great week. Maybe I need to go back and read it, because we've discussed before where, you know, if you're in a bad mindset, then it might just kind of trickle into, you know, stuff you're reading, but it didn't with other stuff. So maybe it's just this. I really did not enjoy the first half of this book, but the second half I really enjoyed. So we get to see guest appearances from the Titans. We get to see Donna Troy and Wally West and Starfire and Beast Boy and Raven. And listen, Mr. Taylor, I know you're writing a lot right now. However, you just signed an exclusive contract with DC Comics. Can we please put Tom Taylor on a Titans book? Please.
Yep, I 100% agree. So hold on, I'm gonna go ahead and
so good.
I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I don't know. This I really, really, really appreciated this. I loved all of the people showing up. I thought that was fun. I thought that there were so many like tense moments, and in that same way, like, do I maybe not in the same way, but where it's like, do I kill a monster in order to like save the rest of the people? I feel like that's kind of how this issue was. I really enjoyed it. So it's the beginning of a new arc, new costume.
Maybe I did like it more than I'm claiming. Because like I said, I just feel like maybe the first couple pages were a little slow. You know, it's just Nightwing. It's not even Nightwing. It's just Dick Grayson being Dick Grayson. But then once he suits up and he's teaming up, I'm like invested. So maybe it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But Mr. Taylor, because you're listening to this, because you're a huge fan of the show.
Hi, Tom.
Please write a Titans book. Like, I love the way that he writes characters interacting with one another. He's very good at that. We've seen him handle large groups of characters with Injustice, with his Suicide Squad run, now with Nightwing. He's very good at getting those characters the way that maybe a lot of people perceive them, but maybe not how they're written. And I just want more of that. Please.
I don't know if I'm still there. I don't know if you can still see me. Sorry. If you had to choose between Tom Taylor doing a Teen Titans book or a Fire and Ice book, which one would you choose?
That's not fair. Fire and Ice, just because at this point Tom Taylor has proven time and time again that he is a queer ally. Yeah. And if there is one white man that I would trust to write queer lesbians, it would be Tom Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, it might be, obviously like Greg Rucka. But
I don't know, man. Tom Taylor's coming for the role, because it feels like every time you turn around, there are queer characters in his books. So, Tom Taylor, listen, we might need to have a conversation. It's great. Yeah. I love it.
Did you have any other DC books? I've still got a few.
I have one more, so
okay. I'll go through because I know that there are probably a couple that you didn't get to. Supergirl was fantastic. I'm falling more and more in love with this series. Tom King is obviously doing the back and forth bullshit with a lot of his books. Supergirl was on a mission to find the person who killed her dad, or killed like whatever it was. Anyways, finally got him, and this is the penultimate issue, and I'm like nervously excited for the last issue. I think it's
really
yeah. And then of course Bill Evely's artwork is just superb. I know that I showed off the
covers.
Oh my goodness, yeah. This one is a oh my goodness. But I just want to show this off really quick. Like, if you can see, I'm gonna bump myself up really quick. But like, if you can,
that's a good page.
It's so good. So anyways, I really appreciate this series. I'm definitely going to be, like, when the hardcover comes out, I'm definitely going to be buying it and probably rereading it. But like, seriously, the artwork in this book is just.
So how would you compare this? Because you've mentioned several times before that you are not a huge Tom King fan, and that's fine. I still love you. However, I know kind of your feelings on Mr. Miracle. How would you rate or compare this book to Mr. Miracle?
I definitely think that Mr. Miracle is a lot more about like maybe family dynamics than this one is, and same with his Vision series, is that one was definitely a lot more about family. This one's definitely about, like, she's kind of a flawed character, but not really. So I think it delves into that. and also like a violently troubled character.
Okay.
Which is great. Not that you really think of Supergirl as that.
No, because you don't. So that's interesting that you would say that, because I know when I think of Supergirl, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, you think of the good girl next door type character.
100%. You know how I feel about Tom King. I don't necessarily love his work issue to issue, but I really love it collected. This issue really, really, really like nailed it for me that I love this series. So I want to go back and reread it all together and see if maybe I feel differently from the beginning or if that skews my perspective a little bit.
You're making me regret, because I was the one that was like really into this from the first issue, and then by issue 3 I kind of was like, I can't keep doing this issue by issue. I had learned from Strange Adventures, where I stopped at issue 4 and I just kept buying it and just hoarded it like a dragon. And I was like, I'm not going to do that with Supergirl, so I dropped it. But the way you talk about it every week, especially from somebody who has I don't want to say skewed perspective, because that's not right, but you're definitely working against Tom King, not in favor of him. So it's not like me when I talk about it and I'm a little biased. It makes me want to really pick up the trade, and I'm really excited to be able to kind of sit down and enjoy this all together.
Please pick up this trade. I love this. I think that because there are moments that are kind of like heartbreaking and maybe chilling, and we get to see so much of Supergirl's backstory. And of course, that's the thing that Tom Taylor does Tom King does the back and forth thing. And I really like it. I think that would I say that this is like going to be a definitive run for Supergirl? Maybe. I think that, who was it? Mariko Tamaki had done one. And there had been a couple of, is it Jeff Johns that I'm thinking of?
Might be.
I do think that this may be like Supergirl recommended reading for me. So
that's good to know.
Pick up the trade from your local comic book store when it comes out. One of the other books that I got. I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't feel like I am educated enough, but I bought the Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes. I really love Brian Michael Bendis, like a lot. I really love his writing. This book was too much for me. There was way too much going on. It's a 6-issue limited series. I'm not going to be picking up the single issues of it. It was okay, but it was a lot. It was just a lot smashed together, and someone else needs to explain it to me. Apparently,
I feel like Legion of Superheroes is and this is coming from somebody who leans more DC. Legion of Superheroes is one of those very like, you gotta dig deep to find like huge fans of that and to like really understand that, because it's like that. I don't want to say a hidden gem, but it's definitely not. It's not your forefront group or title.
You're probably going to find a fan of Guy Gardner before. I'm just kidding. I know you love Guy Gardner.
It's me. I'm the Guy Gardner fan.
I know. I really liked it. Maybe someone needs to explain it to me, but I just didn't. I didn't love it. I know they're going to kill off the Justice League, apparently. Spoiler alert, but...
That's so stupid. Yeah. So dumb. DC, do you think we're dumb? A little bit, but not that dumb.
Yeah. I did get Batgirls #2. I think I just pre-ordered it because I don't really remember liking the first issue a lot. The second issue was still a lot, but they're still like developing all the characters, it feels like they're giving them their little group dynamic. I didn't love it though, so we'll see. Maybe I actually pre-order the rest. And a book that I'm really loving, Aquaman the Becoming. Definitely. So it's written by Brandon Thomas, and man, this book is a lot about family and family dynamics and becoming who you are, literally becoming, and finding out family secrets. And do you love your family enough to maybe go against them, or I don't know. It's still really good. So this is the penultimate issue 5 of 6. I would highly recommend picking up.
Because that's setting up, I think, for a new Aquaman series or Aquaman miniseries where it's focusing on the family.
Yeah. With
Arthur and Mara, and now is he Aqualad or is he Aquaman or is he Aqualad?
Aquaman.
Damn, okay.
Let me hold on. So, spoiler alert, he does say it at like the end. It's like the last page. He's like, I'm gonna become Aquaman, because the series is called Aquaman the Becoming. So let me see here. Oh, so at the end he like walks away and he's like, Aquaman can. So Candyman can. So Aquaman can. So there you go, folks. It's really good. I really like it. I think, and I just love the way that he's drawn. So another one. Nubia and the Amazons. Did you read? You didn't pick this one up?
No, I think I read the first 2 issues, and now I'm kind of like, I'm gonna trade weight it.
It's really good. This issue is 4 of 6, so it's just about to end. There's some really good moments, and I really feel like Nubia, not necessarily that she needs to be coming into her queenness, but I really feel like she is. And there's a moment in here, and I think that it really speaks to the power that she holds. Is she said something in it where like, you never treated Hippolyta like this, and I'm like, damn, like so she's being scrutinized because of the way that she is also treating a villain, where she's also like, we need to understand the villain's motives, and everyone's like, no, we can't do that. So anyways, I really love this one. Williams and Ayala are doing a fantastic job writing this together, and I love this. It's queer.
It's queer as fuck. On the first 2 issues, it was queer as fuck.
Yeah. I really like it, and I think that this will be essential reading. I don't know if this would end up being technically in my like best of 2022 because it's finishing up. So anyways, I really liked it. I think we both have the same last book for DC.
I think we do.
Okay. What do you
I'm so mad my shop didn't get that cover. Apparently Diamond screwed up, and I was supposed to get both covers, and now I want both. So I've been collecting Catwoman since the beginning, because I'm psycho and I just get the variants even though I don't read them. But I decided, with it being a new arc, with Tini Howard being on the book, I was hearing a lot of like very conflicting things about this book. So I was like, let me try it. Let me sit down. Let me read it. I kind of liked it, y'all. I kind of liked this Catwoman book. It was kind of good. I kind of enjoyed it. So I know a lot of people were huge fans of the Rom V run, and I heard nothing but good things with the Rom V run.
Yeah.
And I am not a huge fan of Tini Howard. I'm not. I don't like them as a person or as an individual. And their writing has always kind of just been for me. But I was already going into this book kind of like setting myself up to not like it. But then I started reading it and I'm like, damn, no, I kind of like this. So first of all, the artwork in this book, chef kiss. Absolutely love some of the fucking artwork in this book. I love how colorful it gets in certain aspects. We've got these really beautiful pink pages, and it's just gorgeous. I really like the way that Selena Kyle is written. We're introduced, I guess not introduced, because I guess he was introduced in the James Tiny Onion run, but there's this new character called Ghost Writer. I don't fucking know. I learned that he's bisexual, so I think that that's really fucking rad. We kind of get some sexual tension between Selena Kyle and the Ghostmaker man. And listen, I don't know, because I'm not keeping up with Batman. Are they still married? I just need to know, because if they are not married, I need her and Ghostmaker to boink.
Here's the thing. I would assume that Batman and Catwoman have an open relationship.
Oh, totally.
Monogamy isn't real, but honesty is. So as long as you're honest about your feelings and your motivations and your desires, you should be able to have that with your partner no matter what, whether you're in a relationship or not. So I am on team let them fuck.
However,
married.
Well, I want to say that was like the most important part about this book, is that little tension between them, that I'm like, oh damn, I need more of this. This is very nice. But a bigger thing that I think we need to talk about is the reintroduction of a character that we have not seen in years, and that is Aiko. I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name because I am terrible with names, but Aiko is a character that was introduced during the Genevieve Valentine run in the New 52. And it was during this run that we were kind of, I'm going to say blindsided, because it did feel like a blindside move, but we were introduced that Catwoman is bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, we never heard anything about it again. It felt like they kind of wanted to ignore the fact that they had made this character bisexual. Maybe they did it as a shock value, for lack of a better word. You know, we saw Pride variants come and go. We saw Pride anthologies come and go. And Selena Kyle was never once included in these bisexual or in these queer, you know, things.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got that back, y'all. We kind of got subtle confirmation that she is still a queer woman.
One of the things that, so I went back and I reread the first like 3 volumes of like the modern Catwoman with what's his name?
Judd Winnick.
And Gia March does the artwork. And then in volume 3, it's Ann Nocenti and I can't recall the artist.
I can't think of that.
But in these runs, spoiler alert, Catwoman has like a best friend who kind of dies because Catwoman fucked around and found out, and Catwoman like blames herself for her dying. But the way that it's like the way that the relationship is written is that they have a romance. That's how I read it, at least, is that this was more than a friendship. Like they're more than just like kind of roommates. So I'm really surprised that and I don't know if Catwoman being canonically bisexual was before or after these runs, but like I 100% felt it in these runs.
I'll have to go back. It's been a while since I've read the early New 52 runs, so I'll need to go back and reread it with my, you know, gay baby goggles on. But I'm just really excited. Like, even though it's very subtle, because it's very, very subtle with like a line of, you know, when she's introducing these crime families and she talks about Aiko and she says, you know, forgive me, that one's personal. And then there's a little meeting between the two of them on a boat. And, you know, we get a little jab there between the two of them. And I'm like, I appreciate this a lot. We also get to see, you know, Black Mask shows up, so of course I got really excited.
Like, it was a corny issue.
Know, it's a very. Thank you. I will say this is a extremely horny issue, and for that I do have to thank Teenie Howard.
Yeah, I do want to say really quick, because this issue is like, it does go. One of the things that I think has been missing in like either Catwoman or Batman is one of my favorite things about Batman was the crime bossness of it in Gotham. You know, it's not necessarily the supernatural stuff. It's like the crime aspect of it. And I feel like this is going back to that like crime boss era, which I really appreciate. And so Catwoman in this last run by Rom V, she's been primarily hanging out in Alleytown and like protecting Alleytown. And now she's going back to Gotham and she goes undercover as a stripper. Maybe that's I don't want to say to blame. Why this issue is very horny, but the like crime boss, the heads of the crime boss families are basically hanging out at a strip club. The one thing that I have to say though is that some of the artwork of Catwoman as a stripper infuriates me.
Really?
The reason why, hold on. So when you're doing pole work, you don't, so her like shoe is right here up against the pole. I mean, the poles, you don't work it like that. I'm just gonna say the poles, you don't work it like that. Like you have to create like points of tension on the pole, so you kind of like wrap your like leg or your foot around it in order. I'm asking for a friend, you know, whatever. But you don't necessarily pole dance the way that she's holding onto the pole like that. So I saw that and I'm like, my suspension of disbelief is ended. But then there's this moment when Catwoman is in the strip club and, you know, bad things start happening and she tells some of the other S workers to leave. And she says something incredibly condescending to them. She's like, I need you to get out of here. She basically treats them like they're stupid. And then she's like, okay, the crime bosses can't know who you are. You need to dye your hair and change your names. Look, sex workers, they already know that, bitch. Like, sex workers don't use their real names. They all fucking wear wigs. Like, they've got 10 wigs at home. Catwoman, they don't need you to tell them to change their... Anyways, I just thought that was stupid. Like, they know how to deal with stalkers. They could teach you a thing or two about that. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of condescending. But
aside from that gripe, that was totally justified, I guess. I really like this issue. I think that this is a very great stepping on point for people. When I think of the character Catwoman, this is kind of like what I think of. So I think like when it comes to trade, it's going to be a very easy book for me to recommend to people.
Yeah.
I think it is very female friendly. If I can go that far, I feel like, you know, between the artwork and the writing and everything like that, I feel like it is very, you know, gender inclusive. We'll use that term.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a type of book that, you know, a lot of people could get into. My one gripe is there is a 1 in 25 incentive variant for this book. And for some reason, the 1 in 25 incentive variant is going for like $90. Why? I need the variant. And now I can't get the variant because y'all comic book scalpers are insane. And first of all, why are we doing 1 in 25 variant covers on issue 39 DC?
I think it's
tell me why.
It's a new run. It's basically an issue number 1.
I don't care.
And the reason why it's $90 is because it's a 1 in 25. So anyone who bought it, even like day of, didn't pay the $3.99, $4.99 for it. They ended up paying probably $30 for it. Here's the thing. Wait a couple weeks, and I guarantee you it will go from 90 to maybe 50.
I don't even want to pay 50 for it. Just let me have it.
Yeah.
Just give me the variant cover.
So that's why we need y'all to like and subscribe and become channel.
This is New Mutants all over again, and it just hurts me, and I hate it, and I'm sad. We missed you too.
We missed you too.
But I don't know. I was surprised because I really was not going to read this book, and then I was like in a mood, and I'm like, you know what? Let me try. It's a number 1 quotation marks number 1. You know, let me read it. And it was probably my favorite DC book of the week. Not my favorite, maybe it was my favorite book of the week. I don't know, but
wow.
I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. Very surprised.
That does surprise me a lot. Do you want to go? So that's all for DC, but we've got some Marvel and indie books because of course we do. Let's go ahead. Do you want to maybe chat? I'm feeling Marvel, but if you're feeling indies, let us know.
I think we should just jump right over to Marvel.
Let's jump
because I need to talk about my. So Mars, how are you cutting back on comic books? Easy. I'm buying 4 covers of She-Hulk because I'm insane. Also, I just need to tell you guys how disrespected I was because my shop, I guess, assumed that I needed all the covers because, you know, I pre-ordered all of these. And they stuck that disgusting ass Rob Liefeld She-Hulk Deadpool cover in my box.
I'm so sorry.
And I cried. And I'm like, why would you do this to me?
Like, why? You know me? Can I say that I have like a moment where I feel a little bit disrespected? So like my comic book store, they know my taste in like everything. They know that I pick up great books like Dick Fight Island, and they're just like, here, Jennifer, we assumed you didn't know to order Dick Fight Island. Here it is, just in your box. Oh, hey, this like thirst trap of a variant cover came in. We just put it in your pull box. Well, yesterday I saw that they posted on Twitter, and they're like, hey, there's this femdom romance. If you're missing stuff like Sunstone, there's this femdom romance graphic novel called like Yes Mistress, or I forget what it was called. And I'm like, and you didn't just assume this was not waiting in my box for me this Wednesday? Like, are you mad?
I want to read this.
Right? I was like, books with pictures. Are you mad at me? Like, you knew that there was a femdom romance book that came out and you didn't automatically assume that I wanted it. Like, are we even friends? So anyways, I felt disrespected as well this week, but
I just love her.
She-Hulk.
I just love her.
What'd you think of the actual book? I assume you read it?
Yes, I read it. Of course I read it. So it's been a while since we've gotten some She-Hulk content. I know that she's like been showing up in the Avengers mainline title a lot right now, but listen, I don't want to wade through the Avengers just so I can get a couple pages or panels of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So the last actual She-Hulk run we got wasn't even called She-Hulk. It was just called Hulk. It was written by Mariko Tamaki, and it was not very good. It was a very weird take on the character. So
didn't we get like World War She-Hulk?
I believe
but then you had to like read Avengers like you had to start at like Avengers 40 something.
It was too much. So if I'm being quite honest, it feels like the last like really, really good She-Hulk run we got was the Charles Soule run with Javier Pulido on the art. And I know a lot of people don't like the run for the art alone, but I think it's a very, very good run and I highly recommend reading it. So it's like I've been missing She-Hulk. And this was, I don't want to say it was anything groundbreaking, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I like seeing She-Hulk be cute and be kind of gay. And oh my Lord, Jesus, help me! I love She-Hulk so much. Yeah. Like it was just a very like fun sort of like find yourself issue where, you know, She-Hulk, I guess maybe something happened in Avengers that I missed out on, but you know, there's something going on with her. So she
lost her job.
She lost her job. She's
like a country song.
She's living with Janet Van Dyne, and like I don't know. I enjoyed it. I was a little worried because the last book that I bought 4 covers for, I was burned by, and that was the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. So I was like really worried that this was going to happen with this run, but I was delightfully surprised. I'm going to continue to read it because I was already planning on buying the covers for Jen Martell alone, but I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, and I'm not going to say it's like the best thing I've ever read, but it was pretty enjoyable. I'll say that. I feel like there's room for it to grow.
Especially for this character, because I think a lot of times granted, we did see this character interact with a couple like Janet Van Dyne. So we do get to see her with someone like, you know, someone else, but it was very kind of brief, right? So for characters to be on their own for most of the issue, I really appreciated that.
It has a very slice of life sort of feel to it. And I think a lot of that is because it's Rainbow Rowell. And Rainbow Rowell, if you're not familiar, also did the most recent take on Runaways with Chris Anka. So I feel like if you like that type of book, you're going to enjoy She-Hulk just as much. I think that this is going to be a really good book, kind of like the former Catwoman book we just talked about. I feel like this is going to be a really good book for maybe new readers to get into the character. Because I feel like while I praise the Charles Soule run, I feel like that book can get a little dense. It gets very lawyer jargon, and that's good. And I feel like Charles Soule, because if you don't know, Charles Soule is also a lawyer. So I feel like he brings a lot of his own personal perspective to the table, and he knows the game very well, but it can also feel very heavy. I feel like this is a really great, fun, easy read. Not quite as easy and silly as, say, like a Squirrel Girl, but kind of in that nice niche middle.
I agree. And I think too, there's honestly not very many other runs that if someone was like, I really want to get into She-Hulk, what should I buy? I would literally just default to the Charles Soule run because that's about it. And I'm really glad that this one was a good first issue, but not a like this was my favorite issue of the week, because a couple months ago Moon Knight came out and I'm like, this issue number 1 is incredible, and then that's been the best issue of the Moon Knight run so far, which issue 6 or 7.
And at this point I've dropped the damn run, so
yeah, so I really hope that this continues to get better, and I think it has room to get better. We'll definitely be, I've already pre-ordered it, so it's on my pull list, so definitely looking forward to reading more.
Looking forward to it. I would say it's like maybe not as up there as, say, maybe the Kelly Thompson Black Widow run, because I feel like that brings an extra layer to the table. But if you like fun, low risk type books, I think She-Hulk fits.
I agree.
And those covers are just gorgeous. Like those hard to listen. They are so goddamn good. Like I can't wait for our move because I'm like, I'm gonna frame all these She-Hulk covers and they're just gonna be around the apartment everywhere. I'm so excited. Also, yes, please. Also, let She-Hulk fuck Daredevil.
Oh, I was gonna say let She-Hulk fuck Jessica Jones.
You let her do that too, but let She-Hulk fuck Daredevil.
Yeah, just let them both.
They're both lawyers. That's the only chemistry you need. That's it.
Speaking of, I want to go ahead and talk about this one because I just mentioned it. But I do want to say, so this issue of Moon Knight, it was I feel like I'm finally being broken by this.
I love that. It was I
feel like I'm finally being broken by the series where I'm like, I don't know if I can continue.
I don't care anymore. I considered reading that one this week.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, nothing has been able to even remotely touch that first issue. That first issue could have just been an oversized one shot and we would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
You know?
There is an interesting, like, this one was weird. And even the artwork felt more cartoonish than normal.
Okay.
So it feels completely different, but I'm like, this has been such an inconsistent series. I really appreciate Jed McKay, but I don't know. If you're going to get into Moon Knight, if you watch the trailer and you're like, what should I read in order to get into Moon Knight? Maybe read the first issue of this one, because I thought that was a spectacular first issue. But like we mentioned earlier, Jeff Lemire and Smallwood.
It wasn't great.
What other Marvel books did you read this week?
I read a little book called Devil's Reign X-Men.
Oh, why did you read that?
Because there's a on the cover and a certain dude on the. I was hoping that they would boink, but apparently didn't boink. Hoping that they still boink, but this was a boink little depressed. However, first of all, I'm just gonna say I fucking love Phil Noto on art.
I agree.
I love Phil Noto. Phil Noto as an artist because he's got two very different styles. He's got his, cover work, but then he's got traditional work that he does on the inside, and both are just gorgeous and spectacular. And thank you, Phil. We appreciate you.
I really like Jerry Gary Dugan Duggan. For those of you who don't know, I don't know if his name is pronounced Gary or Jerry or Dugan or Duggan. Jerry Duggan. Gary.
We just call him Jerry Dugan Duggan.
Jerry Dugan Duggan. Someone's going to need to correct me at some point.
But at the same time, don't correct us because I feel like it's a running joke point. Yeah. So, I kind of like you.
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, I was expecting that they would boink, but anything out of this because I guess part of there's an event going on right now called Devil's Reign because I guess Marvel does events. I know. I just picked up this random one.
Yeah.
And the Frost was on it. It was cute. I was like, I'm gonna read it. But I didn't hate it. I kind of enjoyed it. I really get this like cool dynamic where it's like a flash forward and present type thing. And Fisk has worked Elektra and Lost at one point in the past. I really like the whole dynamic of like, if I want people to die, I'm gonna send Elektra. But if I just want people to do what I want, I'm gonna send Emma. I really like that dynamic. I thought that was cool. I was a little confused about Krakoa stuff, but I mean, it's very big stuff. It's fine. Jean has a new fit, which I did not know about. She looks good. Good for you, Jean Grey.
Jean Grey looks good no matter what. Like, I have seen even some of her, like, not trashiest costumes, but, like, even some of the more ridiculous ones, and she just always looks fantastic.
Jean Grey's got a good fit. Like, good for her. There's one thing that I was gonna text you about this, but let me save it for stream because I feel like the reaction could be pure. I've heard I'm not reading X-Men. We all know I don't read Hoxpox. What's a Hoxpox?
Oh my god.
But I've heard rumors of this like Captain Krakoa character, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, funny, Captain Planet. It's fine. I had no idea that Captain Krakoa is actually Cyclops. So that was kind of a shock to me. And then it's also just very funny to me.
I have no clue what's going on. That's me.
Who is this Captain Krakoa?
X-Men, and I'm like, I still have no clue what was going on.
Okay,
I forget what issue it was, but I was literally like reading that particular like issue, and I'm like, did I miss something? Maybe I did. Someone else can try to explain Captain Krakoa to me. I don't like it.
Okay,
but
I thought I was going to get an explanation here.
No.
It's funny.
No.
Like, oh, we need to bring out Captain Krakoa, and then you see Cyclops' little outfit change, and I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? So
maybe I need to get John on here to explain Captain Krakoa to me, but I don't know.
However, they're really stupid, and that made me really excited about this book. And you're gonna laugh, but it's fine. It's fine. Let me find a page. So we all know I've recently come off. I'm on. Obviously, my Daredevil kick, because I just recently rewatched the Netflix Daredevil, so I'm like deep in that. And I knew that Wilson Fisk, right-hand man, James Wesley, is a big character in the comics. He's a big character in the show. However, I guess in the original comics, he was like an old man type character. And I got really excited because James Wesley in this is more like James Wesley in the show.
Okay.
So I need confirmation if this is the first appearance of Netflix James Wesley, or if maybe they've been changing him more to look like the show Wesley. I don't know. We stand my boy Wesley, so I'm really excited that he's getting his due spotlight in this book. I told you it was stupid. I'm just excited about it.
If it wasn't in this one, because you weren't reading the Daredevil stuff before this or anything like that, I can't recall if he was in any of the recent Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run or.
Okay, so apparently Josue is coming through with the facts that Wesley has been young for a while now. So
okay.
I don't know. I guess I was just excited. Okay, I was like, it's my boy Wesley. So I like. Listen, I'm on a Daredevil kick, okay? And that's all that matters.
I think that if you are on a Daredevil kick, and I would recommend this to you or anyone else who's on a Daredevil kick right now, please read the Chip Zdarsky. I know I trashed Chip Zdarsky's Stillwater and this week Batman, the Night Batman, whatever. I know I've trashed both of those books. However, I would 100% recommend his Daredevil run. Yeah.
That's good thing Cyclops is dead, good God, but that's just me coming off the boring stance. Yeah, that was I'll read the next couple of issues. It's kind of like, I read, what was it, Daredevil Woman Without Fear, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy this as much as that, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it.
I think it's probably because it's an X-Men tie-in, and even I, who is reading, kind of caught up with most of the X-Men stuff going on. I still feel like the event plus some of that may be a little bit confusing, but it's still a really good book. So, what other? Do you have any other Marvel books? I've got a little bit of
Marvel.
You have what?
I have 2. Let me just double check.
I
have 2. I have 2 more Marvel books.
I'll go through the ones that I'm pretty sure that you didn't pick up. Star Wars High Republic is still it's a solid series, but I feel like the beginning of this was a lot more interesting because it's in the not the old, it's obviously in the High Republic era, which is like the beginning times. I feel like I'm starting to get uninterested in it, but it's still a pretty good series for Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Silver Surfer Rebirth. This one was a really fun issue by the Ron Mars and Ron Lim. I thought was really good. Silver Surfer is kind of making peace with his past. Norrin Rad is making peace with his past as like a herald of Galactus, and it looks like it supposedly said he was going to team up with Thanos. Spoiler alert, but I don't know if it's going to become a herald for Thanos, so we'll see. Star Wars, Dr. Aphra. I really love this series. You all know this. It's really good. She's just fun. She's a really cute character. One of the books that I read from last week, Wastelanders, Black Widow.
I forgot those came out. How was that?
I didn't read any of the Wastelanders stuff. This is the only Wastelanders book that I have picked up. I really enjoyed this.
Okay.
In the first page, so it's not Natasha. It's I can't think of her name.
Is it Yelena?
Yeah. Yelena goes to Florida and basically just trashes Florida and is like, this place is a shithole.
That's on brand for Yelena, and I love it.
And for someone who, same, also like
as a former Floridian.
As a former Floridian, 100% can confirm. I just thought this issue was pretty good. I am upset that there's only one issue of this because I could read an entire series. So if that could happen, that'd be great. More, please and thank you. I'm trying to see Denight and Wellbe. That's the creative team. Let's see here.
I wouldn't mind, since we're on the top. Yelena, like Yelena in general, with the pie of her from Black Widow and then from Hawkeye. Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised, honestly, if Marvel tried to capitalize on it. Really love to see my 2 points out there. I'm manifesting. Marvel, please give us, please.
Mm-hmm. I also read this Death of Doctor Strange, X-Men Black Knight. Mm-hmm. Did not like. I'm so sorry. I really like Simon Spurrier as a writer, but it was just too much for me. I'm sorry. There was
big sad.
Also, Venom #4 came out. It's being written by, this one was Rom V. Al Ewing and Rom V were co-writing the series. They co-wrote issue 1 together, and then issues 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think, are being written by Rom V, and then it'll be picked up by Al Ewing. Can definitely see this going cosmic in the next issue or 2. And Al Ewing is really great at doing that. But there's some really good moments with Dylan Brock in this series. So I'm really liking it, and I really just love Rom V. So, and I got this really pretty variant cover here, even though it's a little bit damaged. And I think we have the same last 2 issues. So what are yours?
Possibly. I don't have physical copies. I have digital copies. So one I know we talked about backstage is Wolverine Life, or is this Death? I don't know. It's confusing. X Lives of Wolverine. So we were discussing backstage. I guess this is I don't want to call it an event, but it kind of is an event where it's like a week on, week off. We get Lives of Wolverine, then we get X Wolverine, and then we're back. So
it's doing like a Hoxpox thing where it's like house powers.
I think it's a little, but hey, it is what it is. I did not hate this issue. I didn't love it, but I was intrigued by it because little struck me as a fake X-Men fan. It almost feels like it does this weird Days of Future Past type thing, but also a little bit like what's that series that you had me read this year because Wolverine is gay? Extreme X-Men?
Or is it Ultimate X-Men? Whichever one it was.
I think it was Extreme X-Men, where they have to jump timeline to timeline to kill.
It's basically like steampunk X-Men.
Steampunk, they're jumping timelines to versions of Charles. This is the opposite, where it feels like they're jumping lines to save various versions of Charles Xavier. I did. Artwork was nice. I like how Wolverine. And I appreciate it.
For those of you who don't know, like, Wolverine is really old. Like, I
super old.
I can't remember how old that he's at least like 100-something years old. So they're going through some of his lives, and I really like how I feel like they're taking all of his lives and deaths and kind of like combining them together into this like this timeline. It is definitely doing some like jumping back and forth, and I don't think that even Wolverine knows where he is right now. So I do not like that, but I do appreciate what I think this series is going to do and what it's going to set up to do.
I think
so
this is definitely one thing to read when it's versus jumping month to month, one a full trade. That's probably going to be called The Myths and Deaths of Wolverine or whatever. I think it could be interesting, but I don't know. I kind of dug what we had here.
Your mic is kind of cutting out a little bit.
Big sad. Big rip.
But yeah, next week we're getting the X Deaths of Wolverine, or maybe it's 2 weeks from now. So this, I like these kind of series because it feels like it has nothing to do with the rest of the X world. So you don't need to buy New Mutants or Hellions or anything like that in order to get it. You can just buy these titles, but just be very aware that it is X Lives and X Deaths, the same way that it was House of X, Powers of X. It's kind of doing that thing. So what's your
final book? Yep.
Okay. This one, if I was going to be upset or maybe disappointed in a first issue, this one was kind of it. I feel like Silk has never really had a series that has done it for me.
I think I might just come to terms with maybe a fan of the character, and that's okay. I don't think anything really happened with this issue. It's a very, very forgettable issue. Like, I read it this morning and I'm forgetting what happened.
She goes to a museum, right?
Museum. She references her. The influence that's sucked for this witch, and not in kind of way. I think my with this, we literally just got a Silk series last year, and it was 5. Now we're getting a series again, which is either ongoing, maybe another 5-issue. But here's my problem, other than the fact that you're doing these back to back. This run supposedly, I guess, ties directly into the previous run. We see a lot of edit notes where they say, volume do that a couple times, and to me, like, if you want me to do volume 1 this many times, just make this a second arc.
Yeah, make it a volume 2.
What I mean?
Creative.
Volume 2, make it number 6. Because apparently it's the same exact team aside from the writer. So at that point, you're just switching up your creative team. Don't make it a new number 1. Don't try to hook in on these sales, because it feels like that's what you're trying to do. Instead,
when you had a new series last year, like, it would be one thing if it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and like
it feels very alienating to an audience, because Silk to me seems like one of the characters that is for new readers. Mm-hmm. It's a very great character that I think a lot of younger readers could get into.
Yeah, especially with that influencer. Like, there's a character in Silk that's like live streaming going into the museum, and like, haha, we're sneaking into the museum. I'm gonna live stream it. Like, and follow more. That.
There's something about the character and the way that, even when she was in other people's books, she just feels like a very younger generation character that people can attach to. Kind of like, say, Miles Morales and even Spider-Gwen. It feels like that younger brand of Spider fans. So that now leads me to believe that, say these younger fans go into the Nobles or into a comic book and they go to find Silk and volume one, alienating. You're alienating that audience. You're not going to know which one to stop.
Yeah.
And it really annoys me. I know it seems on surface level, it seems very like surface level to pick at,
but that's what we're here for.
But that's what we're here for. And as somebody who preaches comics are for everyone, And a big part of, I believe, I can't speak for Jennifer, but I know a big part of my platform is making sure comics are accessible for people, helping people get into these books that they can love by recommending the stories that they can love. It's very hard to do that when there's 4 or 5 number ones sitting on a shelf.
You're right. If someone came to me and they were like, "Hey, I'd, say maybe a year from now, whenever this arc finishes or whatever it is, if someone came to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to read Silk. What should I read?" I would be like, "I don't know."
And what the fuck is it with the legacy numbering? Because if you look on your cover, underneath the number 1, you'll see it says legacy number 32.
32.
What is the point of this legacy numbering? I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
I believe She-Hulk might have had that too, if I'm being quite honest. Like, no, she does not have that.
Doesn't.
I thought there was another either this week or maybe had a legacy numbering, and it just did not make any sense to me at all. Point, and maybe it's a Spider-Man book, so who knows? I just feel like seeing a legacy stuff is really stupid and lame, and Marvel should stop doing.
Yeah, I agree. Make it easier, or at least like give some type of a guide, because I think even in Silk, there wasn't even a like previously on Silk, where even that could have helped out a little bit.
I mean, there was kind of a quick bio, as we see, because we saw with She-Hulk as well, where it's like, was a radioactive, and now she can from her finger, who's stuck in a as a brother. It's like a mini blip, but this series is very unnecessary. It's very much like Batman the Knight. It's unnecessary. Either keep it or don't do it at all. Going and renumbering it every couple of years or every couple of months in this case.
Yep. I don't know if it's just me. I think that your mic may be cutting in and out a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead.
I'm gonna try this and come in and come back
out. Well, I think that we are about time for indie books. If that was all the Marvel that we had, I know that I have quite a little stack here of indies. So I'll wait for Mars to get back before we really dive into that. Okay, there we go. Let's see if that's better.
Probably this works. If not, my internet's just a dumb doo-doo head.
It seems a little bit more consistent, but it was kind of going in and out there for a moment. I have my favorite book of this week was an indie book. It was published by Image, but maybe we'll save that one for last. I like to do that. I like to save my favorite one for the last to end on a high note. What indie books did you get this week that you hated, that you loved?
I have 4 books that I read this week from indie. This one I'll kind of, because it's very quick and concise, and I can kind of just talk about it. We got the return of 7 Secrets this week. So this is 7 Secrets number 13, done by my boy Tom Taylor and Daniel DiNiccolo. As you all know, this is like one of my favorite ongoing series right now. Like I fucking love 7 Secrets. I was really excited for it to come back. This was a very lackluster issue. I got a little bored with it. We left on such intense note when it took its little break. We got the review.
Like started on a very like intense moment too. Like it picks right up.
It does. It picks me up where we left off. Be a little confused. Didn't do a quick reread before you read the new issue. We left on Kanto revealed himself to be working with Amon, who is our main antagonist right now, and that they've had a relationship. And it's like, how do you pick up from that? Unfortunately, it feels like Isheen failed to do that. However, I'm telling myself that's okay, because we saw the exact thing happen, came back from break last time. I believe it was issue 6 or possibly issue 7. I was like, this feels very sure. It's one of those times where I'm like, I bought it for my pull list, and I kept going with it, and the set picked up. So I'm really hoping that issue 13 is just like a bump in the road, and we can keep moving on from there. Because I really do. I know I feel like I'm trashing it right now, but if you have not read 7 Secrets, I highly, highly recommend it. Very intense, very emotional. It's got a very awesome manga anime-esque.
It does.
That you don't see a lot in Western comics right now. So if you have not picked up Seven Secrets, Boom Studios, please read it.
Would 100% agree. And because, I've said it before on the show, is that I read issue 1, hated it, trashed it. That was one of the worst weeks in comics for me from what I read. But then on your recommendation, I went back and I reread the first volume. And I think I reread the first volume right before that 6th or 7th issue came out. And so for me, I really liked that issue. I know you didn't like it very much because it was just so different. But then it felt like it was setting up something that ended up kind of pulling back. So hopefully this one does the same. What other indie books do you have?
Castle #2 came out.
I didn't read that one.
I've actually found out something really interesting about that book last night. So apparently Animal Castle, I want to call it Animal Crossing, and I'm like having to mentally stop myself. Animal Castle, which is loosely based off of George Orwell's Animal Farm, apparently is not a new comic. Apparently, is a French comic, and the collection is available. And I learned from a friend on Instagram over at Geeky Mind, who's in Canada and lives in one of the French provinces, and she was talking about how this new comic that, and she's like, wait a second. Herself, and she's like, I've heard this, and led to this happened where one is already out, brought over to I guess Western comics, American comics, and English, where they're then pieced off and sold as single issues to whatever publisher gets the rights to it, and it led to a very interesting discussion of. It's almost like comics aren't comics because then they have to be pieced out. That being said, I think Animal Castle is still a really neat read. There are definitely some slow moments to it that kind of make me lose it for a minute, but I think it's because it is a very heavy and very dense book. It's a book in some moments, but I think overall when it's out in a trade, I think it's going to be it almost feels like one of the that can be taught in school.
Ooh, I appreciate that.
It's a very, very good book, and maybe I'm losing some of it because I've never read Animal Farm, but with what I'm able to grab, it's still pretty interesting.
I think that when that first issue came out, I had just read Fables, and so I think some of it kind of like mashed together for me, and I'm like, I'm going to wait for the trade of Animal Castle to come out. But I'm really glad to hear that issue 2 is still running pretty strong. Definitely going to pick up the trade on that one.
And that first issue too is still going on. I don't want to say it's a hot book, but it's definitely above cover price right now. I believe that the first issue went to second printing already. So if you haven't had a chance to pick it up, I definitely recommend it.
That is awesome. One of the books that I have been reading from the start since it came out. I don't know if you've read the first volume or are familiar with it, but Excellence by Brandon Thomas and Carrie Randolph.
I literally have it sitting up here and I just have not.
It's pretty interesting in not the same way, but in almost similar way to like Seven Secrets. It's like there's these families and they all have magic powers, and they kind of have their duty to do something, like maybe protect someone, and they all have magic. This issue is the 12th issue, so we're kind of past like the second arc basically, or in the second arc. And there's like rules, and one of the rules is that women cannot wield magic. Well, a couple issues ago that got like broken, so we're dealing with the consequences of that, and it's really getting into family. This is written by the same person who is writing Aquaman: The Becoming, and so I feel like it's like that but with magic. So really appreciating the series a lot. So if you need like Harry Potter Hogwarts but like more diverse, check out Excellence.
Else do you have? I only have 2 books, and I know the book you want to talk about last.
Okay. Okay, so I know what other book I think you have, so I'll go ahead and kind of blaze through these. Even though Star Wars properties are mostly done by Marvel, this one's done by IDW because their Adventure series is done by IDW. This one is the Galactic Bake Off Spectacular. It is co-written by Vita Ayala.
All about this.
Did you? What's that?
I saw about this, that they basically confirmed that the Greatest, what is it, the Greatest Britain Bake Off or whatever the hell it is, is canon in this universe. And listen, as a Star Wars fan, I kind of love that.
This was adorable. It's kind of told like back and forth, and like they're in the middle. They're like, oh, we're going to bake something. Let me tell you a story while we're like, baking. And so I thought that was kind of cute. It's a one shot, so it may be easy to find. It's not an ongoing series. I don't know if you'll be able to find it in like a collected thing. So if you can pick it up, it was $5.99. It was cute. That's
Star Wars sometimes, though. Sometimes you have to be cute.
I agree. One of the other books that I picked up, it's issue number 5 of Primordial. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is, I think that there's going to be one more issue, and then that's it. To me, this one almost felt like a filler issue because the same kind of thing has been going on, with the exception of the very end. So this probably could have been condensed a little bit, but I really love this series. It's basically about animals that were sent into space for testing, and then they go to an alternate universe or an alternate timeline or something. And I love shit like this. It reminds me of Grant Morrison's We 3, which is an incredible book. So I think this one's about to finish up. It's Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. So I really like the artwork. I really like the story. It's probably going to end soon, so pick up the trade, please and thank you. Homesick Pilots number 11. This series has gone off the rails. Whatever you thought the first volume this was going to be, it is completely gone away from that. I thought it was just going to be a book about like a group of teenagers who are in a band, and it's full of 90s nostalgia. It gets so weird, and it gets so like weird science fiction mecha robots, but with it all being centered around this like haunted house. It's so good. It's so weird. I really love Dan Waters. 100 and Wingard Bidikar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not pronouncing their name right, but anyways, great artwork. Absolutely great story. If you haven't picked up the first trade, I'd highly recommend it. If you like
and
weird,
it's only $10, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm almost positive too. It's really, really good. Just wacky science fiction. The first volume is really good, but then the second volume has been like where it's at. Last one that I have that I don't think that you have is just Silver Coin, issue number 8. This one is written by Matt Rosenberg. So of course and artwork by Michael Walsh. It's about a janitor who works at a like financial firm, and this one was really weird. This one definitely gave me Ice Cream Man vibes out of like all of them. It's a really great, I've been enjoying the series. There haven't been too many that I didn't like. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's an anthology featuring that kind of hops between different characters and different storylines where they pick up a cursed coin. So if you like horror anthologies, I'd highly recommend it. Okay. Last 2. We're down to 2.
So I read, have you read it? Have you read Cloaked yet? Did you read Cloaked yet?
I didn't. I couldn't find it when I went to go because I think I missed it that first week, and then issue 2 came out this week. I did find that week, it was a Scout book?
Dark Horse book.
Oh, sorry, what was the other one? There was another book that week.
Vengeance.
I was able to find and pick that one up, but I couldn't find Cloaked. So I'm sorry.
Issue 2 of Cloaked came out this week. It is a 4-issue miniseries, and listen, this is probably like the sleeper of the year. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It has huge Black Hammer vibe, and when I say Black Hammer vibes, I mean it's a hero book without being a superhero book. So if you have superhero fatigue, but you still kind of want some superheroes, Cloaked is definitely the book that you should. So with issue 1, we saw that there was this who basically uncover the identity of this vigilante that years now, and it's basically a Batman-esque character. And we see him in the first issue connect with a character. Well, in issue 2, we see him connect with a Lois Lane / Oracle Barbara Gordon hybrid type character, and he talks, kind of uncover some reasons. But then we also get flashbacks of our vigilante with, also, you're still on mute if you're not aware. There you are. We also get a flashback to Joker-esque character.
Wow.
It is very blunt in its inspiration to Batman, but I think it's doing a really creative way, kind of like the way that we tend to pick about Batman and like some of our gripes that we have with the character. I feel like this series is doing it as well. So Cloaked, it's published by Dark Horse, 4-issue miniseries. I like I said, if you just like comics, superhero vigilante crime stories, but you have that superhero and maybe want something different with a commentary in it, I highly recommend picking up the series. It is one of those where I picked up issue 1 because I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And now, like, 2, I'm fully invested in the series.
Wow, and that surprises me, especially coming from a publisher like Ablaze, because, like,
well, no, that Dark Horse.
Oh, sorry, Dark Horse. You're right. Okay, so I'm gonna maybe do a little bit of scouting, see if I can find that.
Very good.
That's very cool. I feel like from the way that you just described it, I feel like it was like whoever the writer is sat there next to a lawyer and was like / Batman expert and was like, okay,
how far can I push this?
How far can I like push this? That there was maybe a lot of edits that was like, okay, well, you can't have him have a cowl, but you can do this, or you know what I'm saying?
It's very interesting because like the more and more I think about it, there's whole conversation between him and this Joker character where he's like, you'll put me in a hospital time and time again for me to get out, but you won't ever actually kill me. You're not a good person. Like, think about how many people you've indirectly hurt.
Yeah.
In so doing this. So there's just it gives you a lot to think about, and I think it's going to be one of those books where if you were to read it side by side with, say, a Batman book, you might think about the character a little differently.
That's excellent. And I feel like Batman is definitely one of those characters that like we can do like dark and we can do gritty and we can hang Bat Dong and Batman Damned and we can do like things like that, but it definitely has to be like an alternate universe or it has to be like not the main storyline. But even though we can do that, we still have to like stick to this character's core. Where this book, because it's Batman, but not technically Batman, we can do a little bit more with it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought that one of the last books that you had was going to be issue 10 of Witchblood.
I did pick it up. I am so far behind on this series, though, that I think I stopped reading around like issue 7 or 8. So I have it. I haven't read it, though.
I will not spoil too much, but I will go ahead and say I felt like this was a pretty good ending. I feel like this started off really. This was one of those series where it like started off really, really strong. Kind of lost something maybe along the way, and maybe that's why you dropped it. I still think that this was a really great series, and I think for this one they're going to do just all 10 issues in one volume, which is pretty cool. And so I think it'll be pretty easy for people to read. I still really, really liked this, and I think it's a solid creative team.
I think it's a concept and a solid idea and something that we don't see in comics a lot. This is going to be one of those titles that is going to be very friendly to the mainstream audience.
Especially the way that it creates like not a new universe, but it creates like it builds a world.
It's a world. It builds its own world. It's like a one shot. You pick up the book, you enjoy it, and that's the end of it. I really like when we get stories like this. Yeah. It's just unfortunate. I think I was kind of in one of those drop it when the arc and just trade wait it. Yeah. And the arc never ended. It was revealed that it was going to be issue series. Fuck, let me just keep buying it. And, read it all to maybe in one sitting.
And the covers are great. Like, not just the A covers, but the tarot inspired ones.
Tarot covers.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was picking them up for that alone.
Yeah. Yep. So totally worth it. I would recommend it, especially if you have that like a queer witchy friend who's into crystals and stuff like that. Please buy this series for them.
Buy this for your queer witchy friends.
Yep. So definitely, so there's one last book that I have on my list, and 100% this was my favorite book of the week.
I called it. I picked it.
Bolero.
It has, before we even get into it, this has very big Lonely Receiver vibes.
100%. And that
very
was one of my
Lonely Receiver vibes.
That was one of my favorite books of 2020 was Lonely Receiver, because it's weird and deals a little bit with a lonely person's relationship with technology and how technology takes advantage of it, and maybe how we take advantage of technology. This features a character who is also very, very lonely and has
conflicted with how on this book. So I'm very excited you positively talk about the book, because I feel like I'm split right down the middle on it.
I really liked it. I thought that it, the character just had a lot of agency. I thought that the conversations were very real. It's very raw. I think that if, I don't necessarily want to say, do you want to graduate from Scott Pilgrim? But there's like a backdrop where there's like a band playing in the background. I feel like if you want to graduate a little bit from like Scott Pilgrim, or if you really enjoyed Getting It Together by Sina Grace, but you thought that it could be a little bit more supernatural, this was it.
So to kind of like summarize, because I'll be honest, when I was reading this book, I was like really invested in the beginning of it. And then I went on to use and was like, what is this book actually about? I had lost what it was supposed to be. To kind of summarize it, it follows this main character, and she has a relationship with another character who is trans, and I think that's really, I think that's awesome, and it's that they kind of drew this character's trans that I really appreciate it. But it's this character, and she's dating this woman, and she's obviously madly in love with her. We kind of get this weird flash forward time jump without really telling us that time has passed. I mean, you get it ages later, but I think that's where I started to kind of lose focus. But we get a time jump where these two characters are no longer together. And our main character is still madly in love with the character and wants to be with her. She runs into this character at a bar.
It is trying to like hide the pain.
Yeah, they're trying to basically keep it together, especially when they find out that, they have moved on and that they're in a relationship with somebody else now. They then meet with this other character who introduces this really weird universe. And that's where I'm like, okay, let me back in. I'm really interested in where they can basically time hop between alternate realities of their life 58 times, but they can only guess one. And it's kind of interesting because it's the idea and concept of, hey, this is the type of life I want to have. I would like to be with this person. I'm going to hop through different universes until I find the universe supposed to be together. And I think that further on down the line, it open up to a lot of very conversations between what I want versus what it's worth, and what I'm willing to risk and what I'm willing to sacrifice to get it.
Because you can't go back to you can't go back to your original life, or you can't go back to one of the ones you've been in. So it's like it's almost like the grass is greener on the other side. Right? So you have this ability to be like, I'm going to completely change my life.
It's a conversation of, okay, great, but what if the next one is better? And it's that risk reward sort of conversation that has me invested. I feel about hanger ending. I don't know.
You don't know how you feel what?
About the cliffhanger ending. Because I'm sort of struggling with myself if it is in poor taste or if it's clever. And part of me wants to say, if I have to second it, And that's
yeah.
affliction carries. Because spoiler alert, in the final, we get introduced to our first alternate reality, and it kind of starts off with, okay, she's with her, and hey, you found it on. Oh, congratulations, you've done a job. But then our main character goes to a mirror, and we find out that our character is now gender bent. Our character is now, are they a man? But it almost seems like they may be of like an Asian descent. Like maybe their race has also changed as well. And there's something about that is making me kind of second guess.
I feel like they're like maybe doing a type of like blackface, or
in a way. In a way, it's just I think I need to see issue 2. I think I need to see more of what these alternate universes are, because if these alternate universes are just a matter of we're changing gender, we're changing, whatever, then I might need to be like, we got to have a conversation and see what your intentions are. But I love the concept of it. I really do. I think that this is a very bold concept that could expand far past, I would say, even Lonely Receiver.
So I knew that this comic book, like I, got the little snippet of like, what if you got a key and it let you like go into a different life, but you couldn't go back. Like that was kind of all I knew about it. I'll be honest, that doesn't happen to the very end, but this is a very thick comic book. Like
it's a very big book.
It's $5.99, but it's a very thick book, which I appreciated. But that storyline doesn't really happen till the very end.
There's a lot of setup between these two characters and the relationship between these two characters, which I think is important, because then it kind of gives us a glimpse and a better understanding of how important this is and how we say this perfectly. It kind of plant that seed.
I agree. I was almost hesitant to pick this up because Luana Vecchio, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so I apologize. But they did another story called Painted, and I picked it up, and it's like a full graphic novel, so it wasn't like a single issue, and I didn't love the artwork in it. But the same person, she does the artwork for this, and it's vastly improved. I don't know if it's the colors.
Because I was going to say, I think the artwork in this is gorgeous.
I love the artwork in this.
Yeah.
I almost didn't pick it up because I didn't love the artwork in that book. So big improvement. I loved this series so much that when I go back to the comic book store, the next time I go, there's 2 other variant covers for this. I'm going to see if I can pick those up because
there's Lovett cover, isn't there?
There is. So I was like, okay, I'll buy Maria Lovett if she's just doing covers and not writing it. So anyways, my pick of the week was Bolero. I absolutely loved it.
Now, side note, because I read a digital version from Image that was given to us. I'm assuming it's going to be in the back of this book as well, but there is a QR code for a short story that is done by the same creative. A very graphic cyberpunk book. Yeah. It's like a short story. I would recommend reading that. A couple of pages, but it's very interesting.
Here's the QR code. I don't know if anyone can hold up their camera and get that QR code.
But I would read that.
There you go. I saw that.
You could probably also do it. Because it does, I think the QR code takes you directly to their website where it has this mini web comic, if you can call it that, because it is only a couple pages. I personally really like the mini web comic.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pick that up because I saw the ad for that. I didn't actually do the QR code, but I'm like, I need that, whatever that is.
I know. I was like, this is interesting. And I was like, okay, let's get my phone out, the QR and pull it up. And
speaking of which, because it looks really spicy. It looks like a really spicy story, which I appreciated. I have to say that part of my, I'm reading a whole bunch of graphic novels, trying to fit in 1,000 before the end of the year. But I've read 2 books this week. One I hated, one I loved. The one that I hated was Fine Print by Stepchen Shejik. Fucking hated it.
Oh my god.
But I did read Safe Sex Volume 2. Mwah. loved it so much. I loved it, loved it, loved it. It was so good. Luckily, I read fine print before, so I was like, oh, I hated fine print. Oh, I loved safe sex. Yeah, fine print can. Yeah.
This was such a. I had bought this upon its release, and I had read it, I think, the week it came out, and I think I was just so disappointed that I never even said anything. But this book is supposed to be about spicy demons having sex and threesomes, and dogs are barking, so I apologize. But
the book isn't about dogs barking.
The book isn't about dogs barking, but this book is supposed to be about, spicy demons having threesomes and other fun stuff. And for a Stepan Sajic book, this book was surprisingly not that spicy. I wish it was spicier.
One of the things that really disappointed me in that book, and it was maybe it's just the way that it set it up in the very beginning, it was like there's going to be this cute girl or whoever who goes into the bookstore, and she's very kind of timid and shy, but she's like reading spicy stuff. I forget how it set it up, but it was like she's coded as asexual, where she's like, sex has been something that, isn't necessarily on my mind. It's not something that intrigues me. And then the demon is basically like, well, you just haven't found the right person yet. And I thought that left a bad taste in my mouth, because it invalidates asexuality. And I think that even though most of Stepson Shezik's work is very pro-sexuality, I thought that was a very just shitty opinion to kind of have. And that also set me up for...
I felt that too. I felt that, and I feel like that like a bad tone. I agree. Sexuality is a very, I say, sensitive topic, but I think it's a very hard topic about.
And to do
that can be hard to do. However, if you go through and you read it a little bit further, there is some kind of like subtext. I wish it was more obvious.
Yeah.
But there is some that demon failed, the succubus or incubus failed in their mission. So in one hand, yes, it feels on surface level we are invalidating the asexual community, but then we have that second conversation of, the incubi, incubus, succubus, whatever, failing at their job, and that kind of revalidates it. I just wish it wasn't done in subtle subtext. I wish it was more of a important part of the story.
100% agree. So anyways, that was fine print. I didn't love that, but I loved Bolero a lot. I think this one's a limited issue or limited series.
I think it's 5.
I think so. 4, 5, or 6. It's somewhere along there. So, I'm going to be picking up all of these. I'm going to be picking up all the covers that I can, even though they're at $6 a freaking pop. I still really loved this, and I'll be buying the trade.
I will say it was better than Rain.
Yeah,
especially in terms of queer sexuality and representation, way better than Rain.
Yep, 100% agree. So this would be this would be like, not that I wouldn't recommend all the other ones that we read, but would highly recommend this one. Well, that's pretty much all of the books that I have, and we are just over 2 hours. So is there anything else that you have for this week, or?
I'm drained. I read plus issues, man. I read issues in the span of
what?
3. I read 15 issues 3 days. I'm tired.
I read 29 in one day.
I can't complain.
By the end of the day, though, I was like, I am exhausted. Normally, I do like split them up between days, but I'm really trying to stick to, if I read all my books on Wednesday, then I know that I get them done. I'm not adding to my to be read pile. This year is 2020 to be read. I'm getting through my to be read pile. So, well, I want to say thank you to everyone who's still in the chat, the 20-something people who are still in the chat, and thank you for watching. We appreciate all of your memberships and all of your super chats. I hope all of you have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Bye.